I'm going to talk today about how the EUCC could help to meet the CRA, or how products that are certified with EUCC could obtain the compliance with the CRA through the existing certificate. But before going deeper into that topic, I would like to briefly present the CRA and its key elements. So very briefly, the Cyber Resilience Act is a regulatory framework that enforces mandatory cybersecurity requirements for all the products with digital elements that are placed on the market across the European Union, and it is expected then to apply to a very wide range of products, anything that can be qualified as a product with digital elements, including hardware, software, and firmware, and also their remote data processing solutions. So virtually any digital device, ranging from simple ones as smart toys to security ICs, will be subject of this regulation, and the huge impact and relevance of this regulation comes also from the fact that it will be applicable to several sectors where there was no need for cybersecurity compliance or by taking into account cybersecurity before. The CRA also sets a number of obligations on the manufacturer, those related to conducting a cybersecurity risk assessment, providing security patches, updates during the support period of the product, and also others related to vulnerability reporting obligations. What about the deadlines for this regulation? Well, it was recently adopted by the European Union Council on the 10th of October. It will be published in the European Union official journal in a period between 1 and 3 months after that. Then it will enter into force 20 days after, and in 36 months, expected by January 2028, the regulation will start to apply. As mentioned, the Cyber Resilience Act defines a number of cybersecurity requirements, which are called essential security requirements. They are included in Annex 1 of the regulation, and the Annex 1 is divided into two parts. The requirements within the part 1 are related to security functionalities and security properties to be implemented in the product. Examples are all of those related to the protection of the information handled by it. The particularity of the requirements in this part of the annex is that they could be deemed as applicable or not applicable depending on the outcome of the manufacturer risk assessment. For the ones in part 2, they are the previously mentioned ones linked to obligations of the manufacturer, not only on vulnerability handling and updates, but also in other aspects such as performing regular security reviews and testing of the product. And again, with regards to the scope of application, the CRA defines certain products categories. The most critical ones are the category of what is named critical products. These are the types of products that are exposed to the highest or the severe risk scenarios, like examples of them could be smart cards or payment devices. Then with some lesser criticality, we find important products divided into class 1 and class 2. We can find among this list antivirus, firewalls, and many others. And around 90% of the products in the market will be falling in a category that is non-important and not critical, or default products with digital elements. And well, the Cyber Resilience Act defines also ways, methods to assess the conformity of these products with the requirements in the regulation. The underlying fundamental idea is that the strictness of the assessment should be proportional to the criticality of the product. Okay, so methods as self-assessment will be available only for products that are not critical and non-important. For critical and important, it is possible to use assessment methods included in the new legislative framework, like Module B plus Module C or Module H with full quality assurance. Okay, but also the article number 27 of the regulation introduces the concept of presumption of conformity, which will be that if a product has been certified under a European cybersecurity certification scheme under the CSA with at least a substantial level, it could be presumed as conformant with the Cyber Resilient Act. As per today, the regulation does not make this method mandatory for critical products, but in the future, by means of delegated acts, this could change, and maybe critical products might need to be to demonstrate conformance through an European cybersecurity certification. The candidate and the one that we are dealing with in this presentation is the EUCC. Also, I would like to mention that this presentation is based on a study carried out by ENISA since 2023 that has been recently released to stakeholders like ECCG and SCCG, and we are in the process of updating it. And the concept of presumption of conformity is examined indeed in its technical and other aspects, and I will explain in this presentation some of the hot topics or key concepts that we have been able to do as part of this study, to explore. So one of the most important of the key points studied in that study is how the technical elements existing in the EUCC could be used to meet the requirements of the CRA. At the end, both the regulation and the EUCC scheme are based in cybersecurity requirements. So if it's possible to establish an equivalence between the requirements in the CRA, which are horizontal ones, and the requirements included in the scope of the EUCC certification, then potentially we could conclude that the EUCC provides a proof that the requirements in the CRI are met by the certified product, because there has been a third-party evaluation carried out by a CAB ITSEF where the demonstration of compliance with those equivalent requirements has been carried out. So for the requirements in Annex 1, Part 1, probably they could, and this is explored in the study, they could be met by security functional requirements in Part 2 of common criteria, those related to security properties like having a limited attack surface could be met by security assurance requirements. Security assurance requirements can also meet part of the requirements put on the manufacturer's obligation, like vulnerability handling, for example, with ALC FLR, and also other mechanisms like the vulnerability management obligations in the EUCC overlap somehow or to a certain extent with the obligations for vulnerabilities on Part 2 of the Annex 1 of CRA, and the patch management including in EUCC with its technical mechanism and the related evaluation methodology could address some requirements related to updates. It is important to indicate that in the ENISA study that we have proposed a mapping between both sets of requirements, which should be not unique. There is no one-to-one correspondence. There could be different combinations of SFRs, for example, that meet a requirement, and sometimes it has been needed to create extended security requirements, for example, for data minimization, because we could not find anything equivalent in the standard. Beyond the compliance with the requirements themselves, the study also explores other key aspects important for the concept of compliance or presumption of compliance. Some of them are related to the scope of the assessment. In CRA, the requirements apply to the full product placed on the market by the manufacturer, while in common criteria, it's quite frequent to define smaller scopes that don't include the full product for many reasons, to limit the attack surface, to make the certification more cost effective, etc. So if the scope of the EUCC certificate does not cover the full product, then maybe we cannot conclude that it provides presumption of conformity with CRA requirements for the full product for the same scope of application. Okay, so here one idea that we are exploring is if the demonstration that the TOE scope, including the security function, is sufficient to protect the full product, then maybe this gap could be breached. Also, the CRA requires that the requirements of the regulation are met by remote data processing solutions, which are those on-cloud components for which the product on which the product relies for the exercise of its functionality. EUCC is not always a suitable option to evaluate products in the cloud. So here we might need to go through different paths, like demonstrating compliance of the parts located in the cloud with other methods like harmonized standards or NLF assessment procedures. Regarding the risk assessment mandated by CRA Article 13, well, in the common criteria itself, it is assumed that the manufacturer has performed a risk assessment before drafting the security problem definition, but it's not mandatory to present it for the evaluation, to document it. So during the study, we have concluded that the security problem definition itself, with its definition of assets, threats, etc., could be seen as a simplified version of a formal risk assessment, since the CRA is not mandating any particular methodology to be followed during the risk assessment. So there will be gaps. Of course, there will be gaps in the existing certifications in the industry. The thing is how to breach them. No, so if the certification in the market does not meet all the necessary CRA requirements, it should be possible to update it with new SFRs, SARs that meet those remaining requirements, and we will need to adjust the security problem to support these new SFRs and SARs. If the scope of the TOE is smaller than that of the product, sometimes maybe we could make larger the scope of the CCTOE, but it's not always a feasible option. So in these cases, we will have maybe to demonstrate that the chosen TOE scope is sufficient to ensure the security of the whole product, including the parts of the product that have been deemed as operational environment. And when there are remote data processing solutions, as mentioned it before, we could use NLF or harmonized standard or other methods to assess the on-cloud part, but also the security targets should be updated to include, for example, requirements for securitization of the communication channel or assumptions on the overall security of the on-cloud parts. And well, how could these gaps be implemented by mechanisms allowed by common criteria, by EUCC? At the end, we have to update security targets or to update protection profiles. We need to apply the mapping that ENISA has elaborated. So we have explored several options, like creating a generalist for all case protection profile, flexible protection profiles with PP modules and configurations, functional packages, assurance packages, etc. But the key here is that any solution should avoid that the compliance analysis between both sets of requirements need to be done multiple times or on a per certification basis. We prefer that manufacturers that certify the same type of product need to do this only once, same for CAPs or any competent authority, and they also need to provide flexibility to include or exclude requirements depending on the particular scenario. So are these options compatible with the real landscape of the CC certification industry? To answer this question, we can base in this statistic of the common criteria industry elaborated by jtsec every year with the CC Scrapper tool. And the most remarkable one, if we look at the behavior of the industry in 5 years, is that the market is dominated by protection profiles. 76% of the certifications are PP compliant. And if we look at the usage protection profiles, 50% of them are used to to certify critical products like smart cards with the security IC platform, signature devices, and so on. 28% of them are used to certify important products like network devices, firewalls, etc. The PP4 application software for antivirus, removal tools, etc. And we found as well that non-important and non-critical products, which in principle should not have a need for cybersecurity certification, are indeed certified. For example, the most used PP in the industry is the PP for hard copy devices, multifunction, scanners, printers, etc. So they could benefit from the existing certification to comply with CRA. And what could be an implementation strategy for the industry to bring those gap bridging to the existing certifications? Well, if we consider that the landscape is dominated by PP compliance certifications, it makes sense that the chosen solution is PP-centric or PP-oriented. So we have to update the SFRs, the SARs, the security problems. So in cases where there is a protection profile wide spread that is used in the majority of the cases to certify certain types of products, it could make sense to update the protection profile and ensure that the resulting PP compliance certifications meet the CRA. We also have the case of the protection profiles that claim exact conformance or require exact conformance. In those cases, we cannot update certifications individually because the type of conformance does not allow, for example, to add SFR. So maybe the only possible option will be updating the related protection profiles, okay? And we can identify already some quick win scenarios, those products that for one or other reason need to be already certified under EUCC, like smart cards, for example. If we look at the critical products, they don't they don't have usually remote data processing elements. The scope of the TOE matches the one of the CRA, so it will be easy to accomplish, okay? And in other cases where for the remaining part of the industry that does not certify with protection profile, we could design functional packages, assurance packages or modular PPs to model that mapping between CRA requirements and EUCC requirements in order to implement the presumption of compliance. This is all. Thank you very much. I will I will give the floor to Jose. Thank you.